Hello, and welcome to the Esri GeoDev webinar series. This webinar is a continuation of the series we created in the hopes of engaging in developer-related topics and discussions in between Dev Summits. We are just coming out of our latest Dev Summit in Palm Springs, California, and have a Developer Summit coming up in Berlin later this year in November. We have a lot of new topics, advanced features, and additional functionality to share with you over the next coming months, so be sure to stay connected with us through our GeoDev webinar series page on go.esri.com/geodev or any of our other social media accounts at Esri GeoDev. We would love to have conversations like these taking place throughout the year so that when we do meet at one of these Developer Summit conferences, it will be as though we never stopped. We hope you get as much or more out of this webinar than you anticipated. Now we would like to introduce you to today's webinar, Extending Survey123 Field App using AppStudio for ArcGIS. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. We've taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your own computer desktop in the upper right corner. You're listening in using your computer's speaker system by default. If you would prefer to join over the phone, just select Use Telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presenters by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. We will collect these and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. I would now like to introduce you to Chris Lesueur, Product Manager at Esri, and Erwin Sokianto, Product Engineer at Esri. Chris, let's get started, shall we?
Thank you, Amy. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. It's morning for me here in Redlands, California. I know to some of you in other parts of the world, I'll say good afternoon and even good evening. We have people logging in from around the world. I'm Chris Lesueur, the Product Manager for AppStudio for ArcGIS.
I'm Erwin Sokianto, Product Engineer for AppStudio for ArcGIS.
And today we're going to talk about extending the Survey123 Field App using AppStudio for ArcGIS. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of what we're going to talk about. We're going to briefly talk about Survey123 and AppStudio, an overview of those products, who they're targeted for, what uses people are doing with them. We're then Erwin's going to go over a few different customization scenarios with Survey123, how you can customize it, different ways of customizing it, and then demonstrate showing using AppStudio how to customize Survey123. At the end, we'll wrap up with a few things to consider before you jump into this type of customization and things that will help you out before you get going. So let's talk about Survey123 for ArcGIS. Survey123 is a form-centric data collection app. I think many of you are familiar with it, but let's just give a little bit of an overview. It's a simple data collection experience. So making data collection simple for the end user, the person that's collecting the data, giving them a limited number of questions and easy drop-downs and pick lists to choose answers from. Survey123 has a web and native and also a desktop and device kind of story. So you can create a survey that runs in the web, will also run on a mobile device or a desktop application. So there's various pieces of Survey123. As we go into this presentation, we're going to really focus on extending that mobile part of the Survey123 platform. Because Survey123 really is an end-to-end data collection workflow. You design what your survey is going to look like, create questions for it, the layout, organize it. You push that out to either on the web or an application where someone can collect that data. And then in the end, you are able to gather that data, perform analysis, and work with the end data. So that there is a overview of Survey123. Let's talk a little bit about why you might want to extend Survey123, because there's lots of different ways to extend and Survey123, but let's look at why you might want to do that. You might want to create smarter forms. Survey123 has this idea of smart forms, intelligent forms, that you might want to make them a little smarter, a little more customized. Enter in some complex business logic into the form. So when you enter data maybe in one field, it pre-populates data into another field. You might have a very focused user workflow, and you don't want them to make mistakes, or you want to really guide them from step to step in a very focused way. You may be integrating with other apps or other systems, other pieces of hardware. You might purely want to just automate a process. So when a survey is submitted, something else happens, something runs in the background like a report or such. You might just really want to bring your own corporate or organization identity into the app. You might want to brand it, make it really look like your own app from your own company. Add completely new functionality to the app, or change some of the existing functionalities. These are all different ways you can extend Survey123. And when those are different reasons why you might want to extend it. The different ways to extend it, well, there's various parts of Survey123 and various ways you can extend it. We have Survey123 themes, where just basic color changes of the forms, or online the online forms that you're creating. You might want to use app links, so you're opening other apps from Survey123 and sending parameters, or opening Survey123 and sending parameters to the app when you open it. You can embed into the various web apps, the web experience for Survey123. You might want to use Python to automate data management, capturing data, moving data around when a survey, when you capture data from the survey. Or webhooks. Webhooks is a newer functionality in Survey123, and this is being able to really launch a webhook when you complete a survey. So you could have a survey complete and then launch a webhook upon completion, which will push out maybe notification to someone in your organization, or move that data to another location, store it in maybe an Excel or Google Doc. You can include actual JavaScript functions in your surveys to do a little more complex processing of your data. You can rebrand your field app with total branding and colors and icons that you may want. You might want to modify the code of the app itself to give it some new functionality. And you might want to, in the future, we're going to be offering new functionality where you can create add-ins. Add-ins give you the capability of dropping in a bit of code into the existing app. And that's future work that's coming with Survey123. This session, we're really going to focus on rebranding the field app and modifying the code of the field app. And for that, as you can see, we use Survey123. Sorry, we use AppStudio for ArcGIS. So what is AppStudio for ArcGIS? AppStudio for ArcGIS is a suite of productivity tools for creating native applications. So applications that are installed and run natively on devices. That's mobile devices, phones, tablets, even desktop devices. One app, the concept is build your app once, and that works across multiple platforms. So it is truly write your code once, and you can generate a build that can be installed on all those different platforms: iOS, Android, Linux, Windows, and even Mac. Another thing to know about Survey123 is that, or with AppStudio, sorry, is that the Survey123 app template is included with an AppStudio standard license. A little more on what is AppStudio. So what you get with AppStudio? Well, you get tools for building and testing your apps. You get AppStudio Desktop. This is a tool for managing your applications, for starting up new applications, for requesting builds, and working with your apps. We also include AppStudio Player, a really unique tool for quickly viewing your app on different devices without actually having to generating a build and pushing it to the device, but quickly running those apps on your test devices and such. We have things to help you debug, like a console window, a cloud make service, a build service in the cloud that we manage, so you don't have to manage your multiple build machines for your environment. We manage that for you. You just send your project up to us. We generate those executables for you in the cloud. AppStudio also includes the Qt Creator IDE. The Qt Creator IDE allows you to manipulate the code, write the code. It really is a code editor, and it's bundled in the AppStudio desktop application. So what language do we write in with AppStudio? Well, we write the code is written in QML and JavaScript. So you can think of QML as similar to writing in HTML5 and JSON and JavaScript. QML is really kind of how you structure your application, what it's going to look like, the business logic written in JavaScript. So it's very readable. If you're coming from a web development world, it's very approachable and not a big transition. So just briefly, a screenshot here of a few of the apps that people have built with AppStudio. What kind of apps? We have users building user-facing apps. Some of those run in the enterprise. Some of those run in the app stores for the public. And then we at Esri, we also have apps that we've built with Survey123 with AppStudio. We have things like Survey123 built with it. We have other newer apps such as the ArcGIS Companion built with AppStudio. And what's great with these AppStudio apps is that they are built so they are cross-platform. So when we release something like Survey123, every release we release it on all platforms at the same time. You might want to know, well, how do I mentioned about that the Survey123 template comes with AppStudio standard license. How do you get that standard license? The AppStudio standard license is included with all paid ArcGIS developer subscriptions. So if you go to developers.arcgis.com and you look at the table there, anything at a builder level or above comes with an AppStudio for ArcGIS standard license. So you may already have the standard license and you're not aware, but this is how you get that standard license and get access to the Survey123 template where you can customize it. All right, I'm going to now jump into just a brief demo and an overview of AppStudio for ArcGIS. Here you see AppStudio running on my desktop. I'm going to change the color here and go actually to our dark theme to work in this demo. I have a couple of apps here on my desktop here in AppStudio desktop. I've got a map viewer, I've got a browser view, and I've got a number of buttons here. When I highlight one of these, I can tap, I can open a different button here and run it, or I can right click and select. So I'm going to select this map viewer and select run. This is a project I'm working on. I've already got it inside loaded locally, and here I can run it very quickly on my desktop and see, you know, what is it going to look like maybe in a mobile tablet view. This is a full app with ArcGIS runtime included. You know, have great mapping capabilities in this application. You can zoom and pan, do things you would expect, like change the base map. We can also change things easily here in the settings using the settings the settings tab, and open up the settings panel where I can look at more details of my application. Maybe change the resources like the app icon, the launch image. Maybe modify how this is going to look on different devices. Is it going to run on tablets and phones? And if so, will it run in portrait and landscape? So these are some of the settings you can just easily configure in AppStudio without writing any code. Up at the top right, you see a button that says New App. I'm going to click on that. And this is where we can create a new app. We have a few very basic starter, basically stub code you can start with if you want to create a project from scratch. We have our configurable templates. So templates you can just really configure with your own maps and data and get easily going, such as that map viewer template, which I just showed. We have layouts if you want to, you know, have a basic idea of what your layout of your app's going to look like, and you just want to put in the maps and other elements. We have over 70 samples, and these samples you can download and run, and then get access to the code and maybe use that code in your own application. So lots of different samples, from entering data into SQLite to looking at a 3D map scene. And the last one here, we have Enterprise. So Enterprise, we include a number of templates that we at Esri have created apps using AppStudio, and we give the source code. Some of these are things that are part of the Esri labs, like OGO, an augmented reality application. And here, right here, you'll see one of those is the Survey123 template. So I can download this template, and now right here on my desktop, I can start working with the code for the Survey123 app. To work with the code, I simply right-click, say Edit in Qt Creator. That's the IDE that we bundle with AppStudio. It lets you look at the code and edit the code. Later on, Erwin's going to go through in a much more detail. He's going to work with the code inside of AppStudio and the looking at the Survey123 code. So here, you get a brief view of the code inside that comes inside of Survey123. The last thing, let's say you've modified your code. What do you want to do? You want to get that out as a build and give that to other people in the organization. Well, that last button is the Make button, which I can click on that, log in, and actually just simply request a build for my Survey123 application. And it'll generate it for Windows, Mac, Linux. Most likely you're looking for iOS and Android. So you can build for all those different platforms, you clicking that Make button. All right, so that's a quick overview of AppStudio for ArcGIS. Now I'm going to turn the time over to Erwin, who's going to go through some of the different ways you might want to modify Survey123 with AppStudio.
Hello, everyone. This is Erwin speaking from Redmond, California as well. Just to continue on the story from Chris, there are many scenarios why you want to customize Survey123. One of the most famous example is to change the user interface of Survey123. As we all know and love, Survey123 main color is green. But in this example, we are showing a user case where the Red Cross has a very strict corporate branding, where they all the apps that's produced by Red Cross has to follow red branding, and they're putting their logo. So one of the scenarios to custom Survey123 is actually to change the color, change the logo, and also change the font to follow your corporate branding. We like to call this scenario the white labeling scenario. Another customization scenario where you can extend Survey123 is to extend the capability of Survey. The user experience of the input control in the Survey123. You can, for example, South Dakota Game and Fish and Park customize the user inputs of the spinner control, where they make the button for the plus button to count fish bigger. So when they actually count fish, they don't have to actually do the counting manually, but they can just simply do the count directly in the app. And then once they finish counting, they can just submit the app and then have the result. On top of that, for the purpose of this demo, I added another further customization to the spinner user input, where we can add a compass bearing to show the bearing of the wind direction. For example, if you want to count, if you want to survey the wind direction, and then you can just tap and hold on your phone, and then it reads from the compass bearing, and then it shows where is the wind is blowing. Or you can simply put the degree of the angles, let's say for example 90 degree, and then the compass bearing will point to east. Another customization scenario is where you can extend the capability of the app. For example, we have heard people customize the Survey123 to connect to the Bluetooth enabled printer. So every time you submit a survey, when you click submit, not only it will be saved into the feature layer, but also connect to the Bluetooth printer and then print the submission. For the purpose of this demo, I have a sample on how to add a timestamp and location stamp to the photo that's taken in the survey, as you can see in this photo on the right hand side. You can also change how the data submission workflow. On the previous example, I mentioned that it connects to the Bluetooth printer, but also you can customize Survey123 so that when you click submit, it will also go and save the records into your own database, for example. So before I begin my demonstration, let's put our head together on a user story. We have a fictional city. We call it City of Cilantro. City of Cilantro wants to have a custom Survey123 that is branded to follow their own city branding, which is orange, and their own logo. And some survey that used in this field will include getting wind information, like I mentioned before. Having a compass bearing as an input will be helpful to show where is the wind is blowing. And also, they want to have a watermark in the photo to put a timestamp and a location stamp on that photo. This is not currently supported in the Survey123 Field App, so we'll need to be a customized solution. So before I begin the demonstration, I wanted to point out that the white labeling scenario has been well documented in our GeoNet blog. So feel free to go to the GeoNet blog. The link will be shared to you. It includes step-by-step instruction, including the demo assets with the color and the font that's needed to do this customization. The demonstration that we're going to have today is first, it's the white labeling scenario, adding the compass bearing to the spinner question, adding a timestamp on the photo, and those will be the solution for the City of Cilantro. So with that, let me start up my screen. All right, we are just switched from Chris' computer to my computer. As you can see here that I have an AppStudio desktop open with two apps. One is the Cilantro Survey, which is the basic Survey123 app that's just been downloaded, and also City of Cilantro Survey, which is the finished product. Just like any good cooking show, we have the raw material and then the finished product. So this is the Survey123 basic. So let me see, I can move this thing to the left. So the way to customize the Survey123 to do a white labeling scenario, you don't have to go through any code. You can do all of those customization just from the setting page. The way to go to the setting page of any app in AppStudio is by going to the setting. You can either right-click on the app and click setting, or highlight the app and then click setting on the side panel. So I click setting. It will open up another window, which is the setting of this app. It has the detail page, resource, property. So the first thing, there are a lot of things you can do here. I'm going to do a few of the customization, but the rest of this customization are well documented in that blog that I mentioned before. So let's say I want to change the thumbnail of this app. All I have to do is just click on this thumbnail and then select the image that I want to use. I have the image ready, and all images are available on that blog as well. So I click on the demo asset. I change the thumbnail. So now, as you can see, that the thumbnail has changed. Now we're going to go to the next step, which is the resources tab. So I click on the resources tab. I click on the so in this resources tab, you are able to change the app icon of the app. App icon is the icon that you see on your phone before you launch the app on your mobile phone. So you can change that by simply going to the setting page in the resources tab. You click on the resources tab here, and then change the app icon. Select my app icon. It also mentioned that the app icon needs to be in the size of 512 by 512. You can also change the overlay image when the app is launched. If you notice that whenever you launch the app, before the app is ready to be used, there is some kind of an overview image of the logo. You can also change that by adding an overlay and the background image. So I change this overlay image. I select my image from my computer. And then I can also change the background color. Change the background color to orange. Okay. Now we can even have an image overview of how the launch image will look like. There are many things you can do also. You can go to the properties. You can change the title bar color. You can change the text color. You can change the font size. And all of those are documented in the blog. But I want to get into the meat of this demonstration, where I want to change the show the customization of Survey123. So I click in setting here, I click apply. So now I want you to focus on the ready-made of the product. Before I open the source code of the app, I wanted to show you the finished app. So I have on a new window that I just opened here is the screencast of my iPhone. As you can see here that I have one app that says Survey123 with green app icon, out of the box Survey123, and then on the next to it I have the custom Survey123 for the city of Cilantro that have the app icon orange and the city of Cilantro logo. So let me open the normal out of the box. You can see it's green. It has a Survey123. All the title bar are green, and everything looks normal with the out of the box app. So if I close this and open the city of Cilantro custom Survey123 app, there is a custom app icon here. I click on the custom icon. You can see that there is a custom launch preview images, and then if you see the top color, it has orange color. It has my survey, and then the rest of them are orange. So let me go into the one of the survey that I have prepared for the purpose of this demo. So I click on this app. I see collect. I have two questions here. As you can see here that the spinner question has been customized to add a compass bearing. It has a default value of 36. You can change this default value to, for example, 90 degree, and then as you can see that the compass bearing points to east. You can change it to 99, and then it will be a little bit more to the south of southeast, and then you can change it to 240, and then you can see that's it between southwest. And also you can you probably won't see this, but I'm actually going to tap and hold into the compass image. What it's going to do is it's going to detect, it's going to trigger the compass device capability of my phone, and then reads the compass reading, and then apply that reading into the text field and then the compass. So I'm going to tap and hold, and then as you can see here that the compass reading are moving as I'm moving, turning around my, it's getting that reading. So I'm going to show you how we do that on the code. The next demo that I wanted to show while we are on this screencast is to add a timestamp on the image. So if you look at the first question, the image, I click on the image, annotate image. I select the camera. If you see here, I'm taking a picture from sunny Redland, California. We have a beautiful palm tree in front of our Esri building. I take a photo. I'm taking a photo, and automatically that it adds the date and time, and lat and long where is this photo is taken. That's getting the EXIF information of the image. So I click done, and I can see that my photo is being timestamped and location stamped. And I click OK, and I have that photo being timestamped. So now after I'm showing you the demo of the application, I'm going to open the source code of this app to show how this customization is being done. So I'm going to go back to my AppStudio desktop, and I'm going to open the source code of the app by going to the Qt Creator. So I click on this Qt Creator. So I have the Qt Creator open. So as you can see here on the left panel, we have the Survey123 source codes and all the files that is required that Survey123 has. It is not a small project. Let me begin by saying that it's a big project. It takes some time to get used to where things are, but I'm going to try my best to guide you through all the folder and how it's being structured so that it's easy for you to get started. So as you can see here on the left, we have the project file for the QML project. we have all of the icon, the app icon, the thumbnail icon that we just changed from the setting page. We also have an app info JSON where it is the app info JSON is where all of those setting changes that you made from the setting page are being stored at. So this is all of the images that you just set on the setting page on the app info JSON. So if you go back here, so now if you pay attention, we have several folders inside the Survey123 source code. The first folder is the control folder. The control folder contains the customized UI user interface that we use in Survey123. For example, if we take a look at the style button.qml, this style button is it's just a customized out-of-the-box button from Qt Quick. This button has been properly styled based on our UI branding. So whenever we want to use the button, we can just use the style button instead of using the button and then apply all of this styling. So this is where you can get all the source code for the control. So the next folder is an image folder. It contains all of the image that this app has. The next folder is the models folder. It has all of the QML file that manage the data that is in the app. The next folder is the portal folder. The portal folder is the functionality that takes care of the sign-in and communication with the ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online. The last two folder is where we are going to work on when we are customizing Survey123. The first folder is the template folder. This template folder is where all of the pages of the pages in the Survey123 app. For example, we have a survey gallery page. This survey gallery page is the one that's responsible for this gallery page. If I open my phone, so we have a gallery page. So this is the survey gallery page, and this is the source code for the survey gallery page. And if you need to make a customization to the survey gallery page, you can go to this page and then make those changes. I want to go through to the next folder. So the next folder is the XForm folder. This is where we are going to make the customization today. The XForm folder contains every single type of question that you have set into that you have set in your XLS form. Let's say, for example, you set your question to be a checkbox, and then it's going to use the XForm checkbox.qml files. And this is the files. This is the source code that is responsible for that for that user interface for a checkbox type of question. So if we go back to our demo, we want to make changes to the XForm input control for the spinner appearance. So let me go back to the XForm input control. So I have the XForm input control.qml file open that I know is responsible for this spinner question. I have set this survey from Survey123 Connect, and then this is the XLS form. As you can see here, that the XLS form has an additional appearance setting that's called bearing. So I'm going in the code, I'm going to get that setting, and then based on that setting, I'm going to apply the customization. So I set the bearing customization on my spinner, and I go back to my code. On this component on complete, I check if I have the word bearing in my appearance tab, then I'm going to load my bearing keypad custom component. So now I'm going to find that custom component. So I found my custom component here. This is my custom component that is responsible for this type of this bearing question. So as you can see here, I wanted to take a look at the code and then take a look at the end result here. So let me open this really quickly. I'll go through. I have a custom component that has a image, which is the background of the north, east, south, and west. We have another image that is pointing to that is another image that is the arrow, the red and blue arrow. And then one thing that I want you to pay attention is on the rotation properties of this image. The way I was able to move the arrows around based on the input in the text is by doing by assigning a property binding for this property to the text fields.text. So this image will be rotated based on what numbers I put on the text fields. So right now it says 36, and then this image is rotated 36 degrees. Again, if I change this to 85 degrees, it is rotated 85 degrees. So that is one of the cool concept that we have in QML. It's called property binding, where you can bind a value of an object, a component, to a property of a different component. And the next one that I want to show you is, let me hide my image because this is just a background image, so I'm just hiding that background image. So I wanted to pay attention to the next part of this code here down below. So I wanted to demonstrate that I said I initialize a compass, which is the device capability, the compass on my phone, to my compass. On every time the reading change of the compass, I set the text field text based on that compass reading. So now I have two nested layer of connection here, where I get the compass reading, I set the text field from the compass reading into the text fields with 85. So that's one action. I'm getting a live reading from my compass, setting it to the text field, and then after the text field is set, the text field is the value of the text field is binded to the rotation of the arrow. So now as it changed, as the reading changed, the text field will change. From the text field is changed, the arrow rotation is changed as well. I also have down below, I have a mouse area code where it is every time I press and hold, I will activate my compass, and then if I release, and then the compass will be deactivated. So as soon as I tap and hold on the mouse area around this image, the compass will be activated, and then the reading will come in, and then it changed the text field, and then the text field will change the rotation of the arrows. Isn't that cool? So that is how this customization is being done. I wanted to point out that all of this source code are being shared into the GitHub page, and the link to the GitHub page are available on the slide that will be shared to you as well. So the next customization that I want to show is the timestamp and location stamp demo. Once again, if you take a look at my screencast here, I have the demo of the app. I'm taking a picture from the conference room we are in. Beautiful weather in Redlands, California. I click the photo. It has this timestamp, or when this photo is taken from the EXIF file, and then the lat and long of this, the lat and long of where this photo is taken from the EXIF file. I click done, and it is there. So the way I add the code is it's from the XForm sketch capture. So this is the this is the XForm files that is responsible for the annotate image question in Survey123. So I've added, on the very bottom, I've added a custom JavaScript function that I create that is simply taking the EXIF information. So I've initialized an EXIF information, and then I get the value from EXIF information. I get the time, and then I also get the GPS longitude and GPS latitude from the EXIF information. So all I did, I get that information, and then I do a little bit of a string parsing, and then put those things together, and then apply it into the image. So if I take a look at where is this JavaScript function is being called, so as you can see here that on the external camera page component, if you can see this component, that this is just an out-of-the-box components, and I'm calling an additional JavaScript function for this timestamp. So on this external camera capture component, on capture, whenever the camera is capturing an image, out of the box, we clear the temporary attachment, we set a canvas, we do the normal, and then we call the JavaScript function to paste to stamp the string that we have put together based on the EXIF information, the location, and the timestamp. So that's how this is being done. So before I get back, so here is this is the blog that we're talking about that explains step by step on how to do a white labeling. And also this is the GitHub, the source code of what we have just discussed today, and the source code is available. You're welcome to take a look at it and then apply it to yourself. Hopefully by showing this, it helps you get started if you want to customize Survey123. So before I end my demo, I wanted to talk about a couple things to consider before actually doing customization of Survey123. So if you know that Survey123 releases every 8 weeks, so make sure that the code changes that you create are easy to upgrade to the newest version. So for example, you have done changes to the Survey123 version A, for example, and make sure that you put your code separated and easy to upgrade it. So if the new Survey123 comes out and the source code are being released in AppStudio, you can easily move that code into the new version. And also, if you want to put your app into the App Store, be mindful of the App Store review process. It could take a couple days, or it could take up to a week for the first time to publish the app to the App Store. Another thing I wanted to point out that we are always available in GeoNet. Please ask us questions. Oftentimes, whenever people are thinking about creating a custom functionality in Survey123, you can ask us in GeoNet whether we are actually working on it, and it might come out on the next release or two. If you can wait, it's better if you wait for us to do the same functionality, and we can work together so that the functionality will work with your requirement. If it cannot wait, then if all of these things are considered and if it still cannot wait and it's still a custom functionality that your organization needs, then go ahead and do the customization. With that being said, that's all I have. We're going to open the rest of the time for question. As promised, this is all the links that we have used. There's a link to go to Survey123 page, the AppStudio, the GeoNet page for the Survey123 and AppStudio, the GitHub link for the source code that I've just shown you, and then the GeoNet blog for the white labeling scenario. We'll get back to question.
All right. Thank you, Erwin. We're now going to begin answering the questions submitted during today's presentation. We've received quite a few, and we will try to get to as many as we can, but whatever we do not get to, we will be sure to address in a GeoNet blog post after this webinar. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel. So to begin, our first question for today is, can I use a different IDE instead of Qt Creator?
Thank you, Amy. Great question. We've heard this before from some of our users that maybe they aren't too familiar with Qt Creator and they want to write using different IDE. We're actually working on a project right now. It's in beta to be able to use Visual Studio Code as your IDE, as the way to write your code, organize your code, and extend or write apps in AppStudio. Using that, you could customize the Survey123 template using Visual Studio Code. So we're in beta on that right now. If you want access to that, if you're familiar with Visual Studio Code or you just want to try it out, you can join the AppStudio beta in our early adopter program. And in the one of the pieces you get as part of being the AppStudio beta is this Visual Studio Code extension, which adds a few buttons and capabilities to connect Visual Studio Code to AppStudio Desktop, and also gives you all the nice formatting of your code and things like that. So great question. We've heard that before, and we're working towards offering another solution.
Great, thanks, Chris. How is AppStudio different from Survey123 Connect?
How's AppStudio and Survey123 Connect different? Okay, Survey123 Connect, if you're familiar with that, that is a desktop software that you can use to highly customize your Survey123 surveys, and you can do a lot with it. You can you write the specification for the survey specification for Survey123 is called XLS forms, and it's a great tool for customizing those XLS forms, putting a lot of really advanced logic into your forms, conditional logic, maybe even going as far as adding a JavaScript function into your survey. So you can really go far, and if that's kind of level of customization that you need in your application, definitely go that direction and see how push Survey123 Connect and those XLS forms as far as they can go. When we talk about customizing with AppStudio, you are really customizing the application, in this case the mobile application, and you're touching the code of that application, meaning you're going to have to maintain that code going forward. So one is about highly customizing the form and the experience the user has in entering data in that form. The other is actually, whether it's rebranding the actual app or adding new functionality that has to be added with code. So it's kind of the difference between those two products.
All right, great, thanks. How come Esri does not give us the ability to at least create the iOS install without the credentials set up in the Apple Store?
Good question, and that is to actually create a binary, what they call for iOS an IPA file. To actually create that, you have to have your own credentials. We cannot give you our Esri credentials to sign an iOS binary, an IPA file, to do that. So you do need to sign up as part of the Apple Developer Program and create a certificate and go through that process to sign and build for iOS. One nice thing with AppStudio is to kind of, if you want to see it on an iOS device, if you want to see it on an iPhone or an iPad, you can use the AppStudio Player, which we publish to the app stores, download that, log in, and access your AppStudio apps via the AppStudio Player. So if you want to test it, if you want to see it, how it's going to look, show it to other people on an actual device, we do offer AppStudio Player as a good solution for that. But to actually generate the build or the binaries install file, you do need a Apple developer. You need to sign up for an Apple developer subscription and create those certificates to sign it with.
All right, our next question. Does AppStudio require a separate license and associated license fee, or is it included with some other ArcGIS product? And what is the difference between AppStudio Basic and Standard?
All right, so this is about licensing and how we structure AppStudio. So I'll kind of go through the overall how we license AppStudio. AppStudio comes in two different versions. There's AppStudio Basic and AppStudio Standard. With AppStudio Basic, that comes with any creator user type. So what we call a level 2 user type, or now as a creator user type, you get AppStudio Basic. And that allows you to use some online tools to simply configure one of our 3 templates. When you do that with the AppStudio Basic license, note that your data needs to be public, and those apps that you push out need to be public. If you need to actually modify the code, get access to other templates, push your app maybe into an enterprise to be used by your organization and accessing private data, that's when you need to move to AppStudio Standard license. And the AppStudio Standard license is, you get that by signing up for one of our developer subscriptions. So as I showed in an earlier slide in the presentations, by going to developers.arcgis.com, signing up for one of those builder level or above subscriptions gives you the AppStudio Standard license. And then you have full access to AppStudio Desktop, to edit the code, to build your apps, not just for the public, but also maybe for your organization. So people that are customizing Survey123, the template, they do need an AppStudio Standard license.
All right, great, thank you. What's the cost to further enhance Survey123 in AppStudio?
The cost is it's associated with that last. If you're talking about customizing the code with AppStudio and an AppStudio Standard license, it's kind of associated with that last question. You need to purchase a developer subscription. I know we don't really talk about pricing here. You can go to the website, see pricing. It is offered at the builder level, and I know here we do offer that as a monthly subscription now, so you can try that. Another thing, if you want to just want to try this out and play around with the code, see if it matches up with your skills and if this is going to be a good option for you, sign up for an ArcGIS trial. And with an ArcGIS trial, so the whole ArcGIS suite of software for a trial account, we include an AppStudio Standard license for you to get started and try out the software. So we do have a trial experience for AppStudio, for the full AppStudio product, and you can get that through an ArcGIS trial.
All right, that's great. Why are there 2 templates with the same name, Survey123?
I think what you saw there with the 2 templates is there's the Survey123, the app, like the app that you're going to take surveys on that will run on your iOS and Android devices. And there's also Survey123 Connect template. So if you, in very few cases, users might want to actually customize the code of Survey123 Connect. And we actually give you that's a desktop application I talked about earlier, where you're creating your XLS forms. You might want to customize that, and we give you the code for that as well.
Also, I might add, if you are running a version of AppStudio, the previous version, which is the version 3.1, there is a possibility that you might see 2 template for the Field App and then 2 template for the Connect. One of them is version 2.8 of Survey123, and the other one is version 3.x of Survey123. So you might see 4 template, two different versions of the Field Apps of Survey123 and 2 different versions of Survey123 Connect in the net. So just use appropriately whichever one that you want to use.
That's for some of our users that need to maintain support for the legacy older version of Survey123.
That's correct, yeah.
All right, great, thank you. Which ArcGIS online user type is user level is able to use Survey123?
All right, this is a good question. This is I think a Survey123 specific question. For that, I'm actually going to turn it over to James Tedrick, who I have in the room with me. James Tedrick is the product manager for Survey123.
Thanks, Chris. So Survey123, the out-of-the-box application, is bundled with the field worker and creator types as part of that field apps bundle that both of those user types have. That being said, you also can have an editor user type that has a Survey123 application license applied to it separately. So at the minimum level, you need an editor with an additional license. That license is then bundled in at the field worker, creator, and pro user types.
All right, thanks. Can I extend Survey123 to allow for user upload and attachment of PDF docs?
Yes, absolutely. That functionality is available through AppStudio, where you can create a custom code to read the file using our file dialog plugin from AppStudio App Frameworks, and get that file and then submit it along to the Survey123 form.
All right, great. Erwin, you talked about saving records to our own database. Can you expand on that? What platforms can you save survey records to, and can it be saved to an Excel sheet specifically?
All right, that's a great question. Saving record to your own database can be achieved in several ways. One of them by making use of our a different customization by using webhook. Webhook meaning that you have your own REST endpoint available through a third-party software, for example, Zapier, Microsoft Flow, that will actually connect to your own database. You can do that. But since we're talking about customization in AppStudio, you can also do similar stuff where you can add some functionality. When you click on the submit, you're actually making a REST request to your own database that has exposed a web service, and then you connect to your own database. And then depending on if the question is what platform can you survey records to, it's actually up to you what database platform that you use that you can expose it as a web service. And the last question is, can it be saved on Excel sheets specifically? Technically, you can. If you can somehow create a web service that will receive a REST call, and then instead of saving it to a database, but actually writing an Excel file.
All right, and I just want to, Erwin was talking about webhooks. Just let users know we do have a live training seminar coming in May that focuses on webhooks and all that you can do with that. So if that's something interesting to you, we have documentation on it and things, but we also have a live training seminar. So make note of that.
All right, great. How do I modify a customized Survey123 app anytime I create a new version of it? I'd like to control my own app's version numbers.
Okay, that's a great question. First of all, if you like to control your own app version number, that number and that setting can be controlled in AppStudio app. So every AppStudio app has a version number that you can change either from the setting page right below the thumbnails, or you can go to the appinfo.json file where you can change the version number. So the other one is, how do I modify a customized Survey123 app anytime I create a new version? So every time you create a new, let's say you're modifying version 1, and then Survey123 version 2 come out in the next few months. The best way to do that's one of the things that I say in the things to consider to make sure to have your apps. To make sure you have your code separated and you know where it is. You can also make use of the version control, such as GitHub SVN, where you save that. So you first put your first commit as the out-of-the-box source code of Survey123, and then you do your own commit and push based on the functionality that you have. So now, when you have the new version come up, you can do similar stuff. You make that a commit, the new commit with the new version, and then see the changes that you create, and then apply the changes to the new version.
All right. Well, let's see. I think we can maybe squeeze in one last question. Is it possible to declare the coordinate system of the input locations so that they are, say, UTM instead of lat longs?
Yes, that functionality is available through either the app framework coordinate converter or using our ArcGIS runtime coordinate converter. Those functionality are available. So when the EXIF file, the EXIF information from the phone gives you a lat and long, but then you have to do your own conversion using either an AppStudio app framework coordinate conversion or runtime conversion, or there might be other JavaScript library that let you convert those formats from lat and long to UTM, USNG, or any other type of format.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chris and Erwin and James. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar, Extending Survey123 Field App using AppStudio for ArcGIS. If you have any other questions, please feel free to contact me using my email address in your follow-up email. Once you leave today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation, and we would greatly appreciate it if you can complete that and provide your feedback. We will be providing a recording of this presentation, which will be available within 7 to 10 business days on the go.esri.com/geodev page. And on behalf of Esri and our presenters, thank you for joining us today and have a great rest of your day.